welcome back here, my people. It's lovely seeing your faces again. It's your friend, your daughter, your family member, Shade from the Akins TV channel. And today we want to talk about that very new and beautiful opportunity in New Zealand. And so, if you are a teacher, primary school teacher or elementary school teacher, or you have someone who is one, your friend, your family members, your spouses, your kid brothers and sisters, even your enemies, you have to tell them this news that New Zealand is about to recruit 1,250 teachers and on Tier 1 green list pathway. Tier 1 green list pathway is permanent residency, and it means the person can apply for permanent residency straight from their own country. Like if you are conversant with Canada pathway, you will know that from wherever you are residing, wherever you are resident, you can get your permanent residency in that place before moving down to Canada. And it do occur in places like Australia and a few other places like that. So this is actually what they want to do for people who are teachers of elementary schools or elementary classes. In the last few years, when there were droughts of teachers for secondary school, they did this for them. They moved them away from the Tier 2 green list pathway, which is work visa, to permanent residency pathway, in which situation they will need to work for 2 years before they can apply for permanent residency. But this time around, it is no longer like that. And so it is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. For me, it is music in my ears. So if you are a teacher of primary school, or maybe you've been trying, or your spouse has been trying migration, both of you have been working through migration, you haven't got a way through it, this is the right time for you. If any of you is a teacher in those schools for the younger ones. And I will say, whether you are in Australia and you are struggling to get permanent residency, so far one of you is a teacher, whether you or your spouse is a teacher, you can do this too. And you actually know the gimmicks. Once you have that registration, you can use Trans-Tasman mutual recognition as a pathway to change that registration to Australia registration, and then you are good to go. Welcome yourself back to Australia. So I think it's all beautiful all around. Or maybe you are on retrogression to the United States of America and your spouse is a teacher of elementary schools. I think God has answered your secret prayer. And if you are still back home, wherever you are, anywhere around the world, you may be one of these 1,250 teachers they will be taking. And it is not limited to primary school teachers alone, but it does seem that those 1,250 will be primary school teachers. They still need tertiary institution teachers. So if you belong, just let's go together in this journey. It's going to be a beautiful one. Why would I even encourage anyone to take New Zealand visas? There are a whole lot of things. The fact that this is coming as straight permanent residency is so beautiful. And if you know what permanent residency is, those of us who have branched in the United Kingdom before moving to another country on PR visas actually know the rigor of laboring for solid 5 or more years before you get your permanent residency. Some people give it another name that I cannot mention, but such name did not appear to me when I was actually under such visas that are work visas. Work visas, you have limited or no freedom to do so many things. Like, there are things too that people who are permanent residents or citizens of that particular country we may be talking about part-time will have access to, but you being on work visa, you never will have access to them. And even they could be just trivial things as little as possible. If you dare dip your hand into such, then they start touchlighting your life. So permanent residency is a very beautiful thing. and honestly I want to appreciate the government of New Zealand for bringing this on board, and it is left for you anywhere you may be in the world to just launch into this. And so what are the 250 teachers needed? When do they need them? They will open that portal for anyone who has the appropriate qualifications, certifications, documents by the 26th of this month, March 2025. It means just 25 days to come. The portal will be opened for people to start applying through the tier 1 green list pathway. Honestly, I can't say it enough that I'm so happy that this is actually happening. So permanent residency is one of the reasons I would appreciate people to pick this, beauty of permanent residency. And on this particular visa, you can go to New Zealand with your family, go carry everyone in your family along. And unlike some other countries that the age of the children they can bring in would be like 18 years, 21 years, 20 years. For New Zealand, you can take your child that is as old as 22 years. If they are not yet married and they are not in any civil relationship, they are free to enter New Zealand with you on your visa. And another thing is that this country called New Zealand is absolutely stunning, very beautiful. I've not been there. I've seen so many things about them. I've read a whole lot about them. In fact, I have a big, lovely friend, brother, who's an Australian citizen, and when they traveled to New Zealand last year, he was like, put it on his status update, if you think Australia is beautiful, you need to visit New Zealand. So if that land is not that beautiful, and I know this person is a something, fashion conscious person, so definitely the place must actually worth the salt before the person would have made such comments. So it's a very beautiful land, and it's peaceful. It's a very peaceful land, and the fact that you can actually convert your registration to Australian registration is another plus for anyone who's taking through this, who's going through this pathway. So if at the end of the day you don't want to live continuously in New Zealand, you can then move to Australia at some point if your age is still permitting you. And another thing that I love about the New Zealand pathway is that for some countries, once you are 45, to get into their country to permanent residency is quite tough. But for New Zealand, until you are 55 years old, that is when you cannot apply to enter New Zealand, whether on permanent residency pathway or work visa pathway. So I think these guys are doing some things that are really beautiful. So if you want to get into what is going to happen in March 2025, March 26th per se, there are things you have to start preparing. You need to get your registration with the Teaching Council. So first thing is to send your documents as they will require. I will make another video to tell you how to do the process of registration with the New Zealand Teaching Council. I'll do another video about that. But then you need that initial qualification assessment to say, okay, we pre-approved you, you can practice, you can work in our country as a nurse. And to get that done to get that registration done or pre-approval done, you need to have fixed your English language test system. If you are not from countries like UK, Australia, Fiji, and I think the Philippines, they give them some level of considerations to South Africa. So if you are from those parts of the world, they will just say, okay, your qualification is in consonance with our own qualification, and so you are good to go. They just grant you registration and you move on. But this one is not like that if you are not from those countries. So there are lots of English tests that could be done to meet up with the English standard they need. One of them is general IELTS, and it's such simple bands that they've put up there. So band 7 across the modules. If you are thinking of piercing test of English, and that is 65 points across the 4 modules. I think they are still very fair enough. So once you present those ones to the teaching council, then teaching council will look through them and the other documents that teaching council wants you to present, like your identity information, police clearance checks and all those things, health checks. So many checks they will want you to do. Once you present those ones, then they will do your assessment, then grant onto you registration. If they think you measure up with the registration, then off you go to go and assess your skill, international skill assessment. You do your skill assessment, and after you have done your skill assessment, you then start searching for a job. Once you get a job, then you just apply for your visa by yourself. You don't need an employer to give you any invitation or anything before you apply. Now, I want to let you know that once you have the qualification and your visa, you are processing that, then you can then just go and sleep with your eyes closed. But then these steps are capital intensive. I will not forget to let you know that you are most likely going to get a grant of 10,000 New Zealand dollars from the government. And so I want to be a bit bold to say this whole process is almost very free for you, because of course I know you are going to spend money when you are going through the process, but then by the time the government refund you some of those monies that you've spent, they will be very close to that 10,000. So even if you have anything left out that you've not been paid for, it will just be very, very infinitesimal. So I want to appreciate the government again for doing this. So what will it cost you? Your New Zealand qualification assessment as an international person will cost you 746 New Zealand dollars, which is just like 300, maximum of 380, let's say 400 pounds. Not too bad. Then you have to pay 536 to the Teachers Council to do whatever they are doing with you about this process. And when you have done all that, you have to pay 6,450 for your visa, and it's really worth every penny you spend on the journey. So those are the money you're likely going to spend, and by the time you calculate this, add them together, then take them up from the 10,000 grant you're likely going to be given. It's like you've got the registration and you've got the visa free of charge without paying anything. So please put yourself in a very beautiful position that you'll be ready for the submission of your visa by 26th of this month, and ensure that all the tests you need to have done, you've perfected them, so that by the time they are looking through your information, it will just be a walk in the park for your assessor, and you just get your visa smooth like that. So if you do have questions, please be free to ask me. Or before I go, when you've done your assessment, have your registration, you need to look for a job. It is after looking for a job that you can now apply for visa when you've been employed. Now, sites you should look into kiwi.nz, Kiwi Jobs. Look to Kiwi Job. Look at Education Gazette. Education Gazette is the major area where you can find everything about teaching rules in New Zealand. Look for them. You can go on indeed.nz. You will see so many things that would interest you. People that will be calling you for interview. I'm not sure if they're on Glassdoor, but you can put your profile on LinkedIn or Facebook. You can look around on Facebook and look at where they are discussing teachers' relocation to New Zealand. Jump into the group, then ask your questions. Who knows? The next person that is referring someone could just refer you, and then the breakthrough would have started. So I wish you all the very best.